warm welcome to everyone who's here with us today for this BYU Management Society feature. As Latter-day Saint professionals, we are uniquely taught that our skills and educations are tools for stewardship and consecration. Today, we are incredibly fortunate to sit down with this BYU Management Society alumni who has taken those exact principles and put them into action. After spending significant time honing their skills, building a career, and serving abroad, they chose to bring that wealth of global experience back home to build up our communities right here in the Philippines. In this conversation, we're going to dive into what it truly means to lift where you stand. We'll be asking for practical advice on navigating the transition back home, leveraging global management practices for local growth, and creating a sustainable impact that aligns with our shared beliefs in self reliance and lifelong service. Please join me in welcoming our guests as they share how we can best serve our homeland, elderly and sisterly. Good evening, elderly and sisterly. It's nice to see you again. Can you please share a short background or story about yourselves before we proceed to our questions?
Sure.
You want me to start? Yes. So, Elder D and I, we met at BYU-Hawaii around 1997. I was a sophomore then in college, and then he was freshman.
No, it's sophomore now.
A sophomore, yeah.
Mhm.
Sophomore in college. And then we dated and got married at the Hawaii Temple.
Mhm.
And it was the most wonderful day of our lives.
Mhm.
And then we raised a family, started having our first child in Hawaii, second in California, third in Utah. So that's how those were the states where we moved, in the United States. With those different moves, we have learned a lot. Then we have decided to go to Texas after Utah, and we received a revelation to go back home in 2011, December, which we came back in 2012. So it's been, 14 years now
Mhm.
in the Philippines, and it has been a joy living in the Philippines among the Filipinos.
Yeah, we have three children, as Angie had mentioned. And we've got three grandchildren as well. So we're happy to raise these our family and live here in the Philippines.
For our first question, President Lee and Sister Lee, many members experience a form of reverse culture shock when returning to the Philippines after working or studying in another country. Based on your experience, how can an alumni mentally and spiritually transition from a mindset of professional advancement abroad to recognizing the unique, pressing needs with our local Philippine communities and wards?
So, of course, there's always an adjustment wherever we move, even when we know the place where we grew up, for example, in the Philippines. The essence of passing of time makes you adjust in a new place. So when you go home or go to another place again, after several years, you have to make an adjustment again because you've been so accustomed with that place for those many number of years. It is easy to compare places or countries, but for you to have an easier transition, it is to set your mind that there will be an adjustment. Flexibility is needed. An understanding of the purpose of where you will eventually end up living. Each country has its own set of opportunities, but also own sets of problems which affects the needs of these communities. Our choices really determines our destiny. The mindset that we set in our mind, or our mindset will help us overcome adjustments and life's challenges. For example, for us in Manila, there's a lot of traffic, and we have to have a mindset that this is just part of our everyday living, and it's a different kind of a problem for where we live. People who are successful in what they do is because they chose to see opportunities amid difficulties.
Other than flexibility, I think that um, whoever studies abroad and goes back to the Philippines would have to have not only flexibility but also humility. Um, Meaning a person needs to be humble to receive feedback and also to be continually learn the ways of the ways and the culture of finding a job and also be able to live within your means, the adjustment of, because you usually get, at least for our experience, our experience in the United States, we have learned to work hard and we have been compensated well financially. And we bring that home to the Philippines, but then you work hard and not be compensated as much as you were or you want. So now you also have to learn to live within your means at the same time. So yeah. So, and one thing here is you said, how can alumni mentally and spiritually transition? I think that knowing where the Lord wants you to be is very important. Once you have that experience and you know that the Lord wants you to be, as for us to be back in the Philippines at the right time, and we are in the right place where the Lord wants us, then we are okay.
So, in the church, we look at our talents through the lens of stewardship and consecration. What specific professional skills, leadership models, or modern management practices did you acquire abroad that you feel are most critically needed right now to elevate local businesses, government units, or community organizations in the Philippines?
I think we had very unique experiences while going to school. At BYU-Hawaii, you're encouraged to really find a job while going to school. So working while in school helped me develop good work ethics. It was a hard job. It was very difficult to balance school and work, and then you have other extracurricular activities, or even keeping up with your homeworks and exams. That was a very hard thing to balance your time. But being able to balance your time with all these other things you have has helped us to have good work ethics, because your time is very short and you have responsibilities for the tasks that you've been given. Hard labor taught us that we need to work in order to earn. So um but what's more important is having ethical and moral leadership, as we have learned in BY Management Society. It is much needed in organizations and companies that are looking for good employees. Um, they're looking for the type of leadership that will lead their organization fairly among fellow employees, with much prudence or wise judgment, and the wise use of resources that have stewardship over. So where I work right now is a Beehive Clothing Philippines, where we manufacture garments for the church. As a plant manager, I have to always be fair in all my decisions. I cannot be one-sided or have choose this one employee over this employee. I have to always be fair, and that's what moral and ethical leader is. I don't take sides when concerns rise up, but rather use counseling. So we counsel together and trying to resolve things together, issues, and find solutions. And in this manner, you would be able to lift everyone, even those that have difficulty at work or have challenges, to find solutions and find answers to the problems that we find. So these are things I've learned to always be fair and good work ethics.
I think in BYU Hawaii, and I've learned to be committed at work and be honest in all that I do. You clock in, you clock out, you know. If you say you're coming in, you better come in. If you cannot make it, you tell your boss right away, or else they give you a big problem at work. So anyway, I think that yeah, as long as I've kept that, and um, and that is what we needed, I think, is if you're committed, if you say you're gonna do this, and you've got to do it. And that's what the BYU management also is trying to do, is the moral and ethical values that we need in our workplaces, only in our workplaces, but also in our homes, in our relationships with our spouses and our children.
Okay.
So, so building a career after returning to the Philippines demands significant time and energy alongside our church callings and family responsibilities. What practical advice do you have for BYU Management Society members on how to achieve a healthy balance, ensuring we don't neglect our civic duty to lift where we stand in our local neighborhoods and provinces?
Once you have Heavenly Father as the most important influence in our lives, the other important decisions easier to uh, are easier to follow, So um, like for example, my husband, when we graduated from BYU Hawaii, we opted and came back to the Philippines. We opted to homeschool because our purpose was to um, my purpose as a mother was a nurturer. And one of the things that we want to do is to nurture our kids in our home. That was my role. And I wanted to teach the children um, not just school or education, but also practical things, and be more closer to God type of thing, and learn to balance life as a woman and be contributing citizens when they become an adult. And I think that the best way that I can do that, we can do that as parents, was homeschooling our children. So I think that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. For me, your question is, you're building the career. It requires us to do other things than just work. So we have parental duties, we have spouse duties, we have our family duties, and we have church duties or callings that we have to balance. It is truly difficult, I think, for anyone. To me, the way that I've been able to handle it is by scheduling, just like an appointment. At this time, when you set this time for this type of appointment, you're focused on that type of or that audience or person that you're going to be setting that appointment with. Same thing with all these other balancing duties. When I have to have meetings on a weeknight, I schedule a night for my family because I still have to provide for the family. So the work time or yeah the work time during the day is for my work, is to provide for my family. So the nights or Saturday or weekends, you just have to balance everything. I always say when you have this time and you set this time, you just focus on that time. You can't be doing two things at a time. And then because you set that time, you become good at that for that specific thing that you're doing in that particular moment. So it's important that we're able to balance it by scheduling it without jeopardizing the other responsibilities. So for example, for us, if we set Monday nights as our family night, Wednesday night we go to the temple. I set the other days for my meetings, and then the
For
other
church
times for my church calling. So my civic duties are sometimes happening at night during weeknight, and then my church callings happens on the weekends. So then I'm able to balance everything. It's just a matter of scheduling and planning.
So, for those alumni who may not be able to engage in full-time community work, how can they use remote mentorship, professional networking, or local BYU MS chapters as a vehicle to empower young Latter-day Saint professionals and youth who are striving to build up the country?
Mhm. Um, um, yeah. So I think one of the things that they can learn, or they can develop is finding good mentors, starting to network. So some people just kind of live within their own little world and they say, this is all I'm gonna do. They don't realize the opportunities that is beyond their little world. As they talk to people, as they learn from someone, it opens up network of opportunities. So I think them joining and watching and even messaging someone. We have good technology nowadays and social media. Their generation, they're really good at that. They know how to use those technology, and technology can be the fastest and most effective means to be able to get mentorship, professional networking, and so that they can develop their professions because they want to be uh, professionals in their own careers. So I think at a very young age they should start talking to people. That's one of the things I have learned is I joined these civic organizations such as BYU Management Society. I knew that I could learn, I could network, but at the same time I could also provide help. So we don't only just think about what we can achieve or get, is also what we can give back because we've already been blessed by those that have helped us in the past. Such as me, I had a mentor that told me you should go back to him for your master's program. And I said, oh, that's not me. I can't do that. I don't think I can achieve that. But he believed in me and I was able to do it. And now I'm the one that could help others achieve what they could potentially do in their lives.
Okay, so for our last question in this interview, how can members design or support community initiatives in the Philippines, whether in disaster resilience, education, or entrepreneurship that align with the church principles and self-reliance and providential living?
That one thing that's really good is the personal finance class that the church offers here in the Philippines, one of the self-reliance courses. And I think which is a wonderful class. It teaches us about not only budgeting, but also get a grip of our own finances. And also it teaches us how to save for retirement at the same time after paying all debts from school debts to whatever kind of debts, so if we and also the other class is the emotional resilience class. I think that these self-reliance classes can help us to be self-reliant wherever we are.
Both financially and also
Education, financial,
emotional,
yeah,
yeah.
disaster, yeah.
To me, when I think of this, the first thing I come to my mind is the work I've done in humanitarian. Humanitarian really helps lifts people's lives. And you are asking the question of how can members support community initiatives? They can volunteer their time if they have resources, or they know someone who can provide resources. For example, if you know someone from the United States that are willing to help, they could be the channel to do that. Um, and these things that they can do, whether as we know, Philippines is disaster-prone country, they can help prepare the community. They can help start with their family. They can be the mentor or they can be a trainer in disaster resilience if they have those skills. For example, for me, I'm a member of uh, a disaster, a unit that helps with preparing for disaster. It's called Zion's Zedru. It's a group that's been being trained how to respond in those situations. So I'm volunteering those hours when we have to do these things, to help prepare the community. We were able to train about 5,000 Girl Scouts in water safety. So those things that we can do, we can be part of it. But of course, it requires time. It requires sacrifice of our time, and anything that we do. We have here in our home. We invite these youth from our ward to teach them about personal finance so that they understand, and even at a young age, that they can prepare themselves to be more self-reliant into the future. I am teaching other people that I know of regarding um, how to invest in their future. So whatever skills that we may have and whatever things that we learn, we can always share that, and even spending that time with one-on-one with a person can make a big difference.
Okay, and that concludes our interview with Elder Lee and Sister Lee. A huge thank you to our guests today for sharing such profound insights on how we can bridge our global experiences with a deep Christ-like dedication to building our homeland. If there is one major takeaway from today, it is that our time spent in another country is never just for our own advancement. It is a preparation to better serve, lift, and consecrate our talents for the communities right here in the Philippines. To all our BYU Management Society members watching or listening, may we all find unique ways to lift where we stand and use our professional stewardships to create a lasting, faithful impact. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you again to our wonderful guests, and have a wonderful, blessed day ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.